Harvest is in. Garden beds are empty, and it looks like your garden is settling down for its winter nap, right? But what if I told you that right now, in September, is when the most crucial work for next year truly begins? And no, we're not talking about back-breaking digging or spreading chemicals. Instead, we're going to discuss a genuine spa treatment for your soil, one you can set up right now. Today, you'll learn how to pick the perfect cover crops or green manures that will transform tired soil into a fertile oasis. And I promise, one tip at the end will completely change the way you look at your everyday gardening tasks. So, what exactly are these mysterious cover crops? Simply put, they're green fertilizers, plants we sow not for harvest, but for the benefit of the soil itself. Our ancestors understood this instinctively, letting fields lie fallow and allowing wild greenery to flourish. Today, however, we have a whole arsenal of proven varieties, and September is the golden window to sow them. They'll have plenty of time to grow before the first hard frosts, doing all the hard work for you while you sip your tea and plan next spring's plantings. So let's break down how this green magic actually works. Picture your garden bed right after harvest. It's given its all. All its nutrients are depleted. The soil, you could say, is left hungry and exhausted. And that's where cover crops step in. Their main mission, to feed the soil and restore its vitality. How do they do it? First, they grow an incredible amount of green foliage. All these leaves and stems are pure organic matter. When we mow them down, all that greenery becomes a true feast for earthworms and beneficial microbes. They break it down, turning it into humus, the most valuable component of healthy soil. Second, there's nitrogen. Nitrogen is like protein for plants, their essential building block. Some cover crops, especially legumes, are true nitrogen factories. They have a unique ability. They can take nitrogen directly from the air and store it in their root nodules. When these plants decompose, all that stored nitrogen becomes available to your future tomatoes and cucumbers, and it's completely free. The result? Your soil transforms from just a clump of dirt into a living, breathing organism. It becomes loose, airy, and incredibly capable of retaining moisture. This is the fundamental secret to a bountiful harvest year after year. Let's take a specific example. Imagine heavy clay soil. In spring, it's like putty, and in summer, it cracks like concrete. Water just sits on the surface, unable to penetrate, and there's simply no room for carrot or beetroots to grow. Trying to dig this kind of soil with a shovel? That's a serious workout. This is where cover crops become a lifesaver for such land. There are plants with incredibly powerful root systems, like oilseed radish or rye. Their roots are like living drills. They can penetrate 1/2 metre deep, or even more, breaking through the densest layers. They literally push clay particles apart. What happens next? In winter, these cover crops die, but their roots remain in the ground. Over the winter, they decompose, leaving behind a network of tiny channels and voids. And through these channels, air and water can easily penetrate the soil come spring. The soil becomes structured, loose, and vibrant. All this without the back-breaking work of a shovel. You simply sow the seeds, and the plants do all the hard work for you. But what if you face the exact opposite challenge? Say, sandy soil. It's light, loose, and a dream to cultivate. However, it comes with a huge drawback. This type of soil is like a sieve. No matter how much you water, it instantly drains deep down, carrying all those precious nutrients with it. Rain falls, and an hour later, it's bone dry again. You apply fertilizers, and they're immediately washed away into lower layers, far beyond the reach of your vegetable roots. Plants in such soil constantly struggle with both thirst and hunger. Here, cover crops once again come to the rescue, but their role is entirely different. Instead of loosening the soil, our goal is to bind the sand particles together, making the soil much more moisture retentive. For this, cover crops that produce a lot of green biomass and have a dense fibrous root system are ideal. Think oats, vetch, or Phacelia. Their roots, like a delicate, intricate web, intertwine with every single sand particle, and their mowed green matter, decomposing on the surface, creates an organic layer, much like a sponge. This sponge absorbs and holds onto rainwater, preventing it from instantly evaporating or draining away. As a result, your soil becomes capable of accumulating both moisture and essential nutrients. This effectively transforms your barren desert into a thriving, fertile oasis. But the advantages of cover crops extend far beyond just improving soil structure. There's another incredibly important aspect: weed control. Just think about the countless hours and effort we pour into weeding. It often feels like an endless, losing battle, where weeds always seem to emerge victorious. Well, here's where cover crops become your secret weapon in this ongoing war. How does it work? It's remarkably simple. Sown, say, in September, they quickly germinate and rapidly grow, forming a thick, dense green carpet. This carpet completely covers the soil surface, blocking out sunlight. And without that sunlight, not a single weed seed lying dormant in the soil can germinate. Cover crops simply don't give them a fighting chance. They effectively nip weeds in the bud, preventing them from ever developing. Rye and mustard are particularly effective at this task. They don't just create shade, they also release special compounds into the soil, called allelochemicals, which naturally suppress the growth of other plants. It's an entirely natural and eco-friendly herbicide. By spring, you'll find your garden bed virtually weed-free, requiring only the simple task of making holes and planting your seedlings. No more back-breaking, exhausting weeding right at the start of the season. But let's go even further. Let's delve deeper, literally, beneath the surface. Our soil isn't just a lifeless mineral mass. It's a vibrant, unseen world, teeming with activity. We're talking billions of bacteria, fungi, and countless other microorganisms. And of course, our main helpers, the earthworms. They are the true architects of fertile soil. But for this incredible underground army to work for us, it needs to be fed. And what do they eat? That's right, organic matter. When we meticulously clear our garden beds of all plant debris and spent foliage, we're essentially leaving these vital soil dwellers on a starvation diet. This is precisely where cover crops become their 5-star restaurant. Their living roots release sugars into the soil, providing a delicious meal for beneficial microbes. And once mowed, their entire green mass and dying roots transform into an absolute banquet for earthworms. The worms then pull this organic matter deep into the earth, processing it and enriching the soil with their nutrient-rich castings, nature's most valuable and easily assimilated fertilizer. So by sowing cover crops, you're doing more than just fertilizing your soil. You're cultivating the ideal environment for an entire underground ecosystem to flourish, tirelessly working for your future harvest, 24/7, and completely free of charge. Did you know that cover crops can be your garden's secret weapon? They're natural pest repellents, incredibly effective at keeping unwanted visitors away. One of the most persistent and destructive pests for potatoes, carrots, and many other root vegetables is the wireworm, the larva of the click beetle. These small, yellow, grub-like creatures can tunnel through your entire harvest, rendering it unfit for storage. While chemical solutions aren't always ideal, there's an elegant and completely safe alternative. Wireworms absolutely detest plants from the brassica family, especially white mustard and oilseed radish. Their roots release essential oils and alkaloids that are toxic to them. When you plant mustard in an area where potatoes have grown, you create an unbearable environment for these pests. They either perish or move on to find a new home. This way, your garden beds are naturally cleared of wireworms throughout the fall and winter. By spring, you can plant your potatoes in healthy, pest-free soil. It's a simple, effective, and completely non-toxic way to protect your future harvest. Cover crops aren't just guardians, they're nature's own green doctors for your soil. Just like people, soil can accumulate diseases. Fungal spores and pathogenic bacteria often linger long after harvest, lying dormant and ready to attack your new crops next season. Common culprits include late blight in tomatoes and potatoes, scab in root vegetables, and various root rots. Fighting these issues year after year with fungicides is both costly and potentially harmful. But nature, as always, offers a brilliant solution. Many cover crops, especially brassicas like mustard and radish, and even some cereals such as oats, release phytoncides into the soil. These natural antibiotics actively suppress the growth of harmful microorganisms. They essentially disinfect your soil. Sowing them in the fall kickstarts a natural process of soil revitalization. Over winter, many fungal spores will perish, and by spring, the pathogenic load in your garden beds will be significantly reduced. This excellent preventative measure helps minimize future plant diseases, leading to a healthier and cleaner harvest. Now let's take a closer look at our green heroes. We'll start with the aristocracy of cover crops, the legumes. These include peas, vetch, lupin, and clover. Their main superpower is their ability to form a special friendship with specific nodule bacteria. These bacteria live on their roots and, as we've mentioned, can capture nitrogen directly from the air, transforming it into a form plants can easily use. Essentially, they're like tiny, free nitrogen fertilizer factories operating right there in your garden beds. Once you cut down these legumes, all that accumulated nitrogen remains in the soil, readily available for your subsequent crops. This makes legumes perfect predecessors for heavy feeders, such as cabbage, pumpkins, or zucchini. Vetch, for instance, is often sown with oats. They make an excellent complementary pair. And lupin, with its powerful root system, also has the added benefit of reaching deep into the soil to extract phosphorus, making it accessible to other plants. Planting legumes is arguably the simplest and most natural way to enrich depleted soil. Next up, let's talk about the brassicas. This family includes familiar names like white mustard, oilseed radish, and rapeseed. You could call them the true sprinters of the cover crop world. Their main advantage? Unbelievably rapid growth. If frost is just around the corner and you need to get something in your garden beds quickly, brassicas are your absolute best bet. They can put on substantial green growth in just a month, or a month and a half. But their benefits go beyond just speed. As we've seen, they're powerful natural disease and pest deterrents. Their root exudates, packed with sulfur and essential oils, effectively cleanse the soil of disease pathogens like blight and scab, while also deterring common pests such as wireworms and nematodes. What's more, oilseed radish boasts a deep and powerful taproot, superb at breaking up even the most compacted soil. Planting brassicas after crops like potatoes, tomatoes, or strawberries is a classic, highly effective strategy for revitalizing your garden beds. And let's not overlook our trusty companions, cereal cover crops. Primarily, we're talking about winter rye and oats. While they might not fix nitrogen like legumes or actively suppress diseases like brassicas, they possess a unique and incredibly valuable talent. Their power lies in their root systems. Cereals develop an incredibly dense, fibrous root system comprised of thousands of fine, hair-like roots. This extensive root network thoroughly penetrates the entire topsoil layer, creating an ideal, crumbly, granular structure. It makes the soil loose, aerated, and highly permeable to water. After a crop of rye or oats, the soil's texture becomes remarkably spongy. Rye, moreover, is highly aggressive against weeds, particularly notorious ones like couchgrass. It effectively outcompetes them, pushing them right off your plot. Oats, conversely, are gentler and work exceptionally well in mixes, for instance, with vetch. Cereal cover crops are the optimal choice for enhancing soil's physical properties, especially if your soil is heavy, prone to compaction, or conversely, overly loose and sandy. They essentially form the very framework that underpins soil fertility. And now, meet the true all-rounder, a plant that's perfect for almost any garden situation. We're talking about Phacelia. Many gardeners absolutely adore it, and for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, Phacelia isn't related to any of the common garden vegetables. This means it doesn't carry or spread any shared diseases or pests. You can sow it after or before any crop without worrying about disrupting your rotation. Secondly, it grows incredibly fast, forming a lush, airy green mass. Its tender stems and leaves decompose very quickly, transforming into readily available fertilizer for your soil. Thirdly, it boasts a fantastic root system that excels at loosening and structuring the soil, improving its overall health. And fourthly, it's just an incredibly beautiful plant. Its vibrant lavender flowers attract a huge number of bees and other beneficial pollinating insects to your garden. Phacelia is an excellent source of nectar and pollen. If you're ever unsure which cover crop to choose, or if you're working with mixed plantings, don't hesitate to sow Phacelia. You truly can't go wrong. It's a natural fertilizer, a soil improver, and a beautiful ornament for your garden, all in one. So how do you choose the ideal cover crop for your specific situation? Let's break it down by looking at common garden challenges. Imagine your main problem is dense, compacted clay soil, the kind people often call concrete. Come spring, you can barely get a spade into it. Your primary goal is to loosen it up and make it more breathable. For this, you need deep-rooting cover crops with a powerful taproot system. The undisputed champion for this task is oilseed radish. Its roots can penetrate up to 1.5 meters, punching through even the densest layers. Winter canola and lupin are also excellent choices. By planting them in autumn, you'll find your soil noticeably softer and with improved structure by spring. This is the most efficient way to tackle heavy soils without requiring any back-breaking physical effort from you. The plants will do all the deep tilling work for you. Now, let's consider the other extreme: poor, sandy soil. As we've mentioned, it struggles to retain both moisture and nutrients. Here, our task is quite the opposite. We need to introduce an organic component into the soil that will act like a sponge. Green manures are ideal for this, especially varieties that produce a lot of green mass and have a branched, fibrous root system. A classic and very effective option is a vetch-oat mix. The oats, with their extensive root system, will help create structure and bind the loose sand particles together. Meanwhile, vetch, as a legume, will enrich this poor soil with invaluable nitrogen. Left on the surface as mulch, their green mass will gradually decompose, forming a rich humus layer and significantly improving the soil's water retention. Rye, buckwheat, and Phacelia are also excellent choices for sandy soils. These plants will help transform your sieve-like soil into a fertile garden bed, capable of supporting a bountiful harvest. What if your gardening woes have a specific culprit? Take the wireworm, for example. This tiny, yellowish worm can completely decimate your potato, carrot, and beet crops, leaving them riddled with holes. Years of battling them, meticulously sorting through damaged tubers, can be pure agony. But there's a surprisingly elegant solution. If wireworms have been plaguing a bed where you plan to plant potatoes, or where they've just been harvested, don't hesitate to sow white mustard. Oilseed radish is another excellent option too. The secret is that wireworms, which are actually click beetle larvae, simply cannot stand plants from the brassica or cruciferous family. Their root secretions contain specific essential oils and alkaloids that are toxic to these pests. Essentially, you're creating an environment right in your garden bed where these pests simply cannot survive. They'll either flee the area or perish. Over the autumn and winter months, your soil is effectively cleared and purified. Come spring, you can plant your potatoes into healthy pest-free soil. This is a prime example of how cover crops can effectively tackle very specific and often frustrating garden nuisances. Another common challenge for many gardeners, especially in temperate regions, is high soil acidity. In acidic soil, many vegetables like cabbage, beets, and onions struggle to thrive. They often absorb nutrients poorly and become more susceptible to diseases. While applying lime or dolomitic lime is a common approach, cover crops can also offer a solution here. There are plants that not only tolerate acidic soils well, but can also gradually improve their structure and reduce their pH level. Lupin, for instance, is an excellent option. Its deep roots bring up calcium and other essential elements from deeper soil layers, helping to neutralize acidity in the upper soil, particularly the topsoil. Phacelia and oats are also great choices for acidic conditions. They help to make the soil looser and enrich it with organic matter, further contributing to a balanced pH. Regularly planting these cover crops is a gentle and natural method to gradually improve your soil's pH balance without resorting to harsh chemical interventions. But what if your primary goal is to generate as much organic matter as possible? For instance, if you're a proponent of no-dig or organic gardening principles, aiming to mulch all your garden beds thickly in spring. This way, you avoid weeding and digging, and significantly reduce the need for watering. What you need is a massive amount of green biomass. In this scenario, planting seed mixes, specifically cover crop mixes, is the ideal choice. While single species plantings have their merits, mixtures consistently prove more effective. A classic combination, known for its explosive green growth, is the vetch and oat mix. The oats act as a natural trellis for the climbing vetch, preventing it from sprawling or lodging, and they help build soil structure. Vetch, on the other hand, is a nitrogen fixer, enriching your soil. Together, they form an incredibly dense and tall canopy of greenery. Mowing this lush growth before it flowers will yield a tremendous amount of excellent material for mulching or for incorporating into hugelkultur or no-dig beds. This kind of mix doesn't just generate a wealth of organic matter, it comprehensively improves your soil, making it loose, nutrient-rich, and teeming with life. Now let's talk about timing. September can be quite a long month, and the weather can be unpredictable. What if you've harvested late, and there's very little time left before the consistent cold sets in? Is it too late to plant cover crops? Not at all. You just need to choose the right sprinters. If you only have about a month of warm weather remaining, your best bet is white mustard. It's an absolute champion for rapid growth in cooler conditions. It sprouts in just 3 to 4 days and quickly develops its green foliage. Even if it only manages to grow 10-15 centimetres, about 4 to 6 inches, before the hard frosts, it will still provide immense benefits. Its roots will have had time to work the soil, and its modest greenery will protect the ground through winter. Winter oilseed rape is also a suitable option for late plantings. You should definitely avoid warm weather crops like Phacelia or buckwheat. They simply won't have enough time to develop. But cold hardy mustard is your reliable choice for a quick garden rejuvenation right at the very end of the season. Now, for the single most important rule, and a common mistake many new gardeners make. Here's a key takeaway. Never plant a cover crop from the same plant family as the main crop that grew in that spot previously, or the one you plan to plant next. Why is this so critical? Because plants from the same family often share the same diseases and pests. For instance, let's say you've just harvested cabbage, radishes, or turnips. All of these belong to the brassica family, also known as cruciferous vegetables. If you then sow mustard or oilseed radish, which are also brassicas, you won't be helping your soil. On the contrary, you'll be creating perfect conditions for specific pests and pathogens, like clubroot, to accumulate and multiply. Instead of providing benefits, you'll end up with a breeding ground for disease right in your garden bed. This principle applies to all other plant families as well, after crops like potatoes or tomatoes, which are both nightshade, Solanaceae. Avoid planting cover crops from that same family. Always rotate your crops. After brassicas, plant grains or legumes. After legumes, follow with brassicas. This is the golden rule of crop rotation, and it applies just as much to cover crops as it does to your main harvest. This brings us to a crucial point. Your cover crops have grown, standing like a lush green wall, beautiful and vibrant. So what's the next step? When should you cut them down? There's a very clear rule for this. The ideal time to cut down your cover crops is during the budding phase, or at the very start of flowering. Why this specific timing? That's because this is when the plant's green matter holds its maximum concentration of nutrients, nitrogen, and micronutrients. The stems are still tender, succulent, and haven't yet become tough. This tender green material rapidly decomposes in the soil, releasing all its accumulated nutrients. However, if you miss this crucial window and allow your cover crops to fully bloom and set seed, two significant problems will arise. First, the plants will divert all their energy and nutrients into forming seeds. This will leave the green mass poor in quality and tough, like straw. It will then take a much longer time to break down. Secondly, and this is crucial, the seeds will scatter across your garden bed. Next year, your beneficial cover crop will transform from an ally into a troublesome weed you'll have to contend with. So don't delay. Keep a close eye on your plants and cut them down right on time. And now for the final, and arguably most crucial and contentious question. What should we do with all that mowed plant material? For decades, the common wisdom was simple. Mow it, then immediately dig it into the soil, incorporating it. The logic seemed sound, ensuring all the nutrients went directly into the earth. However, a more modern, conscious approach to gardening and farming tells us something entirely different. Tilling the soil isn't the best option. Why? When we turn over the soil, we destroy its natural structure, painstakingly built up by the roots of cover crops and earthworms. We expose and kill beneficial anaerobic bacteria on the surface, while burying aerobic ones, which require air, deep underground. In essence, we're creating a true catastrophe for the soil ecosystem. It's far more effective and beneficial to do the opposite. Simply leave all the mowed plant material right on the surface of your garden beds. It will become a natural mulch, protecting the soil from erosion and winter freezing. Then, earthworms and microorganisms will gradually pull all this organic matter deep into the soil, processing it and distributing it throughout the soil profile exactly where it's needed. This is the natural, low-effort and most effective way. Now for the game-changing tip I promised. For decades, many believed that cover crops must be tilled into the soil. Digging them in was thought to ensure all nutrients were returned to the earth. However, recent research and the experience of advanced agronomists show this can actually do more harm than good. When you till the soil, you destroy its delicate structure, kill beneficial earthworms, and eradicate crucial microorganisms. But if you simply cut the green growth and leave it lying on the bed, you create a perfect mulch. This mulch will protect your soil from freezing in winter, become a feast for worms that will naturally pull all that organic matter deep down, and by spring you'll have loose, living, and absolutely ready to plant soil without ever lifting a spade. You're not just fertilizing, you're kickstarting a natural soil regeneration process. So to recap, choosing cover crops isn't just about buying seeds. It's a well thought out strategy to vastly improve your soil. Select them for specific purposes, don't be afraid to mix varieties, and definitely try avoiding tilling them in. Your soil will thank you with a bountiful harvest next year. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. Now, a question for you. Which cover crops do you plant in the fall? Or perhaps you have your own secret recipe for the perfect cover crop mix. Share your experience in the comments below. Let's discuss.